Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So here I have another inks comparison video, and this is the Cult Pens exclusive Fresh Fruit inks comparison number 1. So I think with that, let's go and swab up some of these inks. So I get a lot of questions on how I do these ink videos. So I decided I would add this to the front of each of the ink videos. I put links in the description, but I know some of you watch this on TVs or mobile devices, so you don't get to see this. So first off, the paper is the number one question I get asked. What paper do I use for these ink comparison videos? So this is the original Tomoe River. This is 52 GSM. And it is the white, not the cream, the white. Where possible, I try to go for the white because the cream can actually change the colour of the ink just a little bit. So this is Tomoe River 52 GSM in the white. A lot of people get confused as well because I have what looks to be a grid on this page, and it's actually an Oxford Optic pad. These are the pads that I actually use when I'm writing my writing samples for pen reviews or in my Currently Ink. So they have these little squares up here. I just use that because it's a good guide for me. When I put this very thin sheet of Tomoe River over, I can actually see squares, so it helps me write a little bit sort of straight on the page. Not always, but sometimes it does. The other thing that I also have is I have a bottle of water, plain water, and I dip my nib in here. So for consistency, I use the same fountain pen, or I guess it's not a fountain pen, it's using a fountain pen nib though. This is a 3D printed pen from William Shakur in the UK. So he prints this material 3D, and it has a number 8 size Bock nib which I can unscrew, and you can see there. So it is just a dip pen holder for a number 8 size Bock nib, and the idea is I want to have consistency with the writing sample. So I use this, I dip it in the ink, I write, and then I will dip it in here and I will rinse the nib off several times and I will dry it, and then at that point I will then go on to do the next ink swatch and the next writing sample. So there you have it. That's how I do my ink swatches. So I just wanted to show you that here. Now on to the ink comparison video. So the first ink we have here on this inks comparison is the Loving Lemon. So we'll do an ink swatch, and you can see this is certainly on the Q-tip here. It looks very green. It's a little bit more of a like a limey green colour, a little bit going on yellow, I would say. We'll do a second pass over the top half just to show what the difference would be like between a wet versus a dry, or a broad versus a narrow writing nib. So this is Cult Pens, and it is a Loving Lemon. But I would say that's a little bit more on the sort of greenish side of lemon, a little bit more of a limey colour. The next ink here is Cult Pens, and it is Bored Banana. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And this, I would definitely say, is more of a yellow colour. Certainly more, I would even say, definitely as a banana. It is quite pale, though, towards when it gets a little bit drier. We'll do a second pass here over the top half just to show the difference between a wet or a broad versus a dry or a narrow writing nib. And this is Cult Pens, Bored Banana. And I have to wonder Who comes up with these names at Cult Pens? As I understand it, it is a little bit of a team effort, but some of these names are quite interesting. The next ink here is Cult Pens Gruntled Guava. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And this is already looking a very nice pale sort of pastel colour for me. Now we'll do a second pass over the top half just to show the difference between a will be a wet or a broad versus a dry or a narrow writing nib. So this is Cult Pens and it's Gruntled Guava. But that actually is, for me, a very interesting colour. Colour that I will definitely be interested to see how that one dries. And then the last colour on this version of the inks comparison is Cult Pens Bashful Blueberry. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And I would definitely say, so far, this is looking like a blueberry colour. I would say that that is almost a perfect blueberry. We'll do a second pass over the top half just to show the difference between what would be a wet or a broad and a dry and a narrow writing nib. And this is Cult Pens. And it's Bashful Blueberry. And I want to say that it's looking a little bit like a blue-black, but I'd say it's also not as dark as a blue-black. I think blueberry is definitely the right terminology to use for this ink. So I think let's take a look at these inks now that they have dried. So these are quite light inks. So if you're not into light or pale coloured inks or sort of pastel coloured inks, then maybe these are not for you. But I know a lot of people are raving over the Sailor pastel coloured inks, so maybe you'll be interested in these. So the first ink here is Cult Pens Loving Lemon, and I thought when this went on, it actually went on quite of a lime green colour, certainly more green than yellow. Can you see the difference between a wet and a dry writing nib? There's not a huge amount, but there is a little bit of difference here that you can see. Is there any shading going on? Again, not a lot of shading. If I look at the writing sample, though, I do see some shading going on there. So there is definitely some shading in the writing sample. So if you've got a wet nib, you might actually get some shading going on there with the writing. Now, is there any sheen? No, there's definitely no sheen. And honestly, I have not seen any sheen on a yellow or a lemony, greeny, lemony, yellowy coloured ink before. The next ink here is Cult Pens Bored Banana. And I'm trying to think if there would be another name that I would come up with. Maybe a sultry banana. A bent banana, although that's getting a little bit too close. I don't know. I think bored banana probably is a good terminology. I guess a lot of people do get bored with bananas. So can you see the difference between a wet and a dry writing nib? Yes, you definitely can. Is there any shading going on? There's a little bit of shading in the pulled areas, but not a huge amount. But if you look at the writing sample, again, you can, in a wet nib, certainly see quite a bit of shading going on there. So it's actually not a bad shading ink. You're just not seeing it on the ink swatch there as much. Is there any sheen going on? No, definitely not. But again, I'm not going to normally see some sheen from yellow or lime green or lime lemon or loving lemon coloured inks. So I wouldn't really be expecting any sheen from that. The next ink here is Cult Pens Gruntled Guava. Now that's a very strange and interesting name. Can you see the difference between a wet and a dry writing nib? Definitely you can. There is a huge difference here. Is there any shading going on? Definitely there's shading going on in the wetter pooled area of ink. You can also see that on the writing sample there, and I will show you that there a little bit more close up. There definitely is some shading going on there with a wet nib. Now, is there any sheen? No. I want to say that it's trying to sheen around some of the darker areas here, but it's not able to sheen. You can get sheen out of orange inks. I'm thinking of Sailor Gentle Apricot, Sailor Kinmokusai, Pilot of Washizuku have some inks as well, like Fuyugaku. You could get orange out of sort of sheen out of that. So you can get sheen out of orange inks, but this one just isn't quite sheening. And then the last ink here on this inks comparison is Cult Pen's Bashful Blueberry. Again, another very good name, I have to say, for an ink. Initially, I thought this looked a little bit more of a blue-black, and I still kind of do. It is a little bit sort of on that sort of, I want to say more denim probably than blue-black. I think denim would actually probably be a better choice of words for this colour. Still very good, definitely a blueberry colour, so I think that's good in that sense. Can you see the difference between a wet and a dry writing nib? Yes, definitely you can. There's a huge contrast difference there. Is there any shading going on? There is some shading going on in the pooled areas. Not a huge amount, but there is some shading. Now, is there any shading in the writing sample? There's a little bit of shading going on there. You're definitely seeing it on some of the downstrokes there a little bit more. Is there any sheen? No, there isn't any sheen on this one. But really, these have not been marketed as sheening inks, so I honestly wouldn't really be expecting to see sheen on these inks. So that's my Cult Pens exclusive Fresh Fruit inks comparison number 1. If you like any of these inks, do let me know in the comments below. Likewise, if there are any other inks you would like me to check out, then do let me know in the comments below. So that's my Cult Pens exclusive Fresh Fruit inks comparison number 1 video. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.